Oh, for the love of sci-fi. Boy, have we got a great guest for you now. All right, he's 6'5". He's a machine of muscle. He is Dolph Lundgren. Ladies and gentlemen. He's a director, a writer, a producer. It's a pleasure, pleasure. Thank you, Dolph. It is an honor to have you here. You are doing so much. I mean, you have so many things happening. But first of all, I just want to say you have Aquaman coming out.
Yeah. Hey, nice to be here. Pleasure. Yeah, I got a couple of things going on. I got. Yeah, I just finished shooting in Australia with Jason Momoa and Nicole Kidman and a few other people there. It's nice.
That is fantastic. I mean. You've been around for a while. You're a martial artist. I want to talk about that too because you keep yourself in amazing shape and you're a real fighter too.
Yeah, I used to do Kyokushin karate. I actually used to fight a lot in London and Wales as well when I was younger before I got into the film business.
So a real fighter, a real actor. Your most famous role today so far has been Ivan Drago. I mean, for some people like me, who was a huge fan of yours, even growing up and becoming an actor and doing all this. I mean, you just had an amazing role. It's iconic, and now you're going into doing Creed 2.
Well, I'm negotiating with MGM. We'll see how it happens, but hopefully I'll do that. I'm going back to LA next week, the week after next, to actually doing a little commercial with Stallone for some Mexican beers.
That's Mexican beers. That's
good.
Gotta
pay a few bills.
Well, we always got to do that too, don't we? Hence these cons as well. But it's a lot of fun because you get to meet your fans and everything, and you have I mean, look at the size of this crowd here. You have a lot of people out here that love you. So it's awesome. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you.
And if not, you'll probably break them, right?
No, I'm just a teddy bear, you know. I'm just a teddy bear, baby. Don't worry about it.
A little Elvis. You also been, Sly, you've also worked with him in The Expendables 1, 2, and 3, aside from Rocky, and you guys are old friends?
Yeah. Actually, I've sort of been seeing him on and off in L.A., and then he just called one day, about 7 years ago, and just, hey, Dolph, I got a script here, check it out, see what you think. So, and I read this script called The Expendables, and I think on page 3 said, drunk Swede with a big knife kills somebody. I was like, okay, I guess that's my part.
Oh, that's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, do you have anything that happened on the set that was a lot of fun for you on The Expendables? Was there anything that happened that was out of the ordinary? I mean, here you're with some of the greatest iconic action films of the 80s and 90s, and you're working with all these great people. I mean, what was it like on set with all these guys, all this testosterone?
But it was a bit unreal, actually, where, there's especially one scene, and I think it was Expendables 2, where we were all getting ready. It's early in the morning in Bulgaria, somewhere at an airfield, military airfield, and we're in this little tent to suit up with all the gear, all the weapons and stuff. And so I get in there and I look over and there's Jet Li is getting ready, and then Stallone comes in, and then Chuck Norris shows up. He starts putting his stuff on, and Bruce Willis and Arnold is a little late, and we're all in this little tent going, is this really happening? This is kind of unreal, because normally these guys are in a movie where they're the star. Maybe there's one more person, but yeah, it was pretty amazing. That was when Van Damme was the bad guy. He did a good job, I thought. Yeah.
You worked with Van Damme a couple of times too.
Yes. Yes, kick over here, kick over there. It's very dangerous. You watch out.
Wow, that's fantastic. What's it like being directed by Sylvester Stallone? I mean, we're talking in your Rocky movie. It was incredible. Your character was amazing, but he's also directing that too. I mean, didn't he direct?
It was frightening. if you hit me again, I'll fire your ass. Yeah, but no, he's a good guy. He's a good director, and obviously in the first Expendables, I think he did a great job, and I think he may be directing Creed 2, but that's what he said. But I think now he's gonna hire somebody instead, because I think he wants to do Expendables 4. So if he's gonna do that, he can't direct Creed 2 because it'll be too much post-production. But he's a good guy, and he knows, little things like if you're in a car, how to grip the steering wheel to show off your forearms, grip it hard like this. It's like little details like that.
Expendables 4, you're going to have to put in a good word for me.
Sure.
I bet you get that every day. What was it like working with James Wan?
James Wan on Aquaman. Yeah, he's a very, very talented guy. I mean, it was a strange experience for me because it's a super CGI-driven picture. And I didn't know this, but all my scenes take place underwater, and they shoot it dry for wet. So everything is shot on a blue screen stage. And I was hanging in this harness about 6 hours a day, every day. And he tends to do about 10, 20, 30 takes of everything. The smallest little thing, because he's like a perfectionist. So first time I showed up and I was getting off some kind of like this sea dragon that I'm on. I play King Nereus. I'm Amber Heard's dad in the picture. Go figure. Anyway, but to get off this, you're kind of floating all the time, like, you're sort of kind of floating, stopping. While you're talking, you got to keep moving a little bit, like floating kind of slowly like this, So, took a while to pick that up, and the first scene I did, I was just getting off the sea dragon in my harness, and I did 30 takes. No dialogue. It took me like 2 hours. And I said, oh man, I don't know. Am I going to suffer through 4 months of this shit? It's going to kill me. But anyway, it turned out to be good, and James is a great guy, so,
People don't, being on the harness is a lot of work. And it's physically draining because you're trying to keep yourself mobile and you're trying to look natural. You're trying to act like it's natural, and it's harder to do than people think.
Yeah, it is, and especially if you weigh 220 pounds as opposed to 100 pounds, the harness is the same size, so it tends to cut into certain vital areas, especially for a man. So in my case, it was a little more painful.
Yeah, because not only do you weigh more, but you're also extremely tall. So
yeah, well,
that would drive. That the physics of it with being harnessed in, you have lock points that you're in.
Yeah.
And the I can feel when I'm in it, and I'm only 5'9". I can feel the torque in it is extreme. And somebody smaller, they can do like little things really quickly and fast. But the taller you get, it seems to be. You had to have a lot. It would take a lot out on your body, I think.
You don't see a lot of guys 6'5" in Cirque du Soleil.
No, you don't.
They don't get that job. So I know why.
Yeah, when I was Tarzan, I was able to do these swings on the thing because I was smaller. I was able to do it more than like the big guys because in physics, if you take a ball and you push it out, at a 10-pound ball will double, but if you take a 20-pound ball, it'll like triple, and 40-pound ball it'll like quad. Keeps going up exponentially, and it's harder for it to hold on. So you have to be extremely strong to be able to maintain that amount of time in a harness. Yeah,
that was 4 months. But it was fun to work with Jason Momoa. He's a great guy. He's the real deal. He's a big guy, muscular. It's good to see a couple of big guys in the movies. And Nicole Kidman, she was very sweet and nice. And William Dafoe is a great actor. He's in it as well. Patrick Wilson plays the bad guy, the half-brother of Aquaman. It's a pretty cool Shakespearean kind of story.
Yeah, it sounds like an amazing cast and film. I'm really, really happy for you. I can't wait to see that. I think everybody's excited about seeing that film.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So, did you get to meet James Brown? When you worked in Rocky, did you get to meet him? Because he did. They had that big scene with him coming down, and it was so just loud and such a monumental scene in filmmaking.
Yeah, I was sitting in my dressing room, 27-year-old kid in my Russian boxing gear, no assistant, no water, no coffee. I was just in there waiting for them to call me, and this one of the guys from his band shows up. Knocks on my door, wearing like a velvet tuxedo or something. He's like, well, the Reverend Brown would like to see you. I'm like, excuse me, the Reverend Brown would like to see you. I said, sure. So I went in there, and he's like, I met him. He was really nice to me. And I said, good luck, son. Good luck, son. And then he showed up to do his number. But the thing was, he hadn't done any playback. He wasn't used to playback. Because, in the movie, in the actual, when you're shooting it, they can't use he can't sing for real because you have to lay that on later. So they play his song on the speakers. He has to just mime the words, but he didn't know how to do that. He got fumbled up with his dancing and the singing, so Stallone had to show him, Sly had to get out there and do the whole James Brown thing with his boxing shoes on. It was pretty funny to watch, but Brown just either he sings or does it for real, or he doesn't do it. But this was in between. I don't think he'd ever done that, but it came out great in the picture anyway. So it was good. It's
an amazing scene. What a moment. Did you get to watch some of that too? Were you able to? I mean, you're just describing what you saw behind, but did you?
No, there were not many monitors in those days,
Yeah.
But I think what's cool about that scene is that when I see the movie once, when I by mistake sort of catch it on TV or whatever. And I see that young kid standing there, and in that ring, and I'm standing there warming up, and suddenly the ceiling opens up, and I'm kind of transported up into this crazy world, in Vegas. It's the one scene where I see who I used to be, like the young kid prior to getting famous, and so Ivan Drago's kind of wide-eyed looking around is me looking around at Hollywood, and it's kind of a bittersweet moment, because then it changed after that. So
it's still nice for people to. I mean, you're so recognizable, and people really truly love these characters that you've played. I mean, you've had an effect on people, a profound effect. I know that I've done a film where people still to this day recognize, and they'll come up to me, and they'll even be at the gas station. They'll be, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I'm getting gas." But it's like, "Rico, you know what to do." I mean, but you have had these characters that it's got to be overwhelming. And so sometimes people, I know when they come up to me, they're excited, but they've got to be just so thrilled when they meet you. And I mean, what's that feel like? To all these years later, to still have so much appreciation for you and for what you've been able to do and for what you've been able to bring, the joy you've been able to bring to these people.
Well, I kind of realized why I didn't become a chemical engineer, and I decided to switch. I guess it was just something in me that was drawn to the performing arts and to entertainment, and now I realize why, because it really gave me a chance to try to lighten up somebody else's life and a few other people and kind of entertain folks and make them feel a little bit better in our mundane lives. Everybody needs a bit of entertainment and some positive energy, maybe somebody to look up to, was a role model of some sort, and I guess I've become that. And it's just recently that I've realized that it's a real honor and it's a real privilege for me to be in that position. So thanks to you guys for giving me that opportunity. Thank you.
Well, because you're a chemical engineer. You speak several languages. I mean, you're not just your typical artist. You also can back it up with a lot of talent in other areas. But you are to be in the arts and to be able to perform something. It takes a lot of. There's a lot more to it than people understand and can just comprehend by just watching it. It's not just that. But there's a lot more to you personally. What do you like to do in your spare time when you're alone and it's just you?
Sleep. Sleep some more. Rest up. I don't know. Work out. Go to rest. Be with my kids. I like to read about spirituality. I meditate every morning for between half hour and an hour, and I'm quite interested in spirituality now, and forgiveness and compassion and things like that, and I read about that quite a bit. There's a really great book about the Dalai Lama, which is 365 sayings. So you basically get one per evening. You can read one before you go to bed, and just to get some positive energy into my head before I go to sleep, into my heart, because if you watch the news before you go to sleep, you just hear about a bunch of violence and negative energy and hate and fear and jealousy and greed, and I'm just trying to find a little bit of a spiritual center, a little more. I think as we get older, it's important to find that, you know.
I agree. Well, I have my koi pond at my house. I like to meditate out by that too, and do my reading and stuff like that too. It's something I have to quiet the mind because my mind is too active. And I agree with you. If you take the news to bed, it's more disturbing. So I think you have to do the positive reading. So I appreciate it. That's nice to know.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that's kind of. Yeah, I like that, and be with my kids, and yeah, and you know, sometimes you get tired of working on parts. Like I was working on my character in Aquaman, and it's quite strenuous. But then if you haven't done a movie for a few months, you kind of start getting the urge again to become somebody else, you know. And enough of this Dolph guy, you know. I want to be somebody else.
I don't think we can get enough of you. I think we really appreciate you in films. It's good to see you. I'm glad you get this Aquaman. I think it's a huge film, and I know that a lot of people are excited about it. I was thinking maybe we should bring some questions out to this audience. I think they might want to ask you something, unless you have something else you want to talk about.
No,
All right.
Of course.
I will go. I'm going to bring this out to you guys and let you ask Dolph Lundgren what you want to know. What do we want to know about him? All right, we're going to go right up front first because it's easier. What's your name?
Hi, it's Gary. I remember you. Yeah. Hi, Dolph. If you had to spar another action star for real, apart from Casper, who would you be worried about?
Oh, okay. Well, there are a few guys in the Expendables, like Randy Couture. It's kind of tough, and Terry Crews. You know, he's a big guy. Let me see, who else is there these days? I don't know. Are there any other good fighters? I don't know who else is out there. I mean, it's difficult. You know, it's different doing stuff for real and doing it for movies. So it's obviously I've done it for real. So I'd have to find somebody who's done it for real, like Randy. He'd be tough. Yeah.
I think any of them would be tough. I wouldn't want to fight you. You'd have to catch me. Bruce Lee said it best. He said, if you have to do one thing a day, if you have to train only one thing, run. And I think he meant that so you have stamina in the ring. But if I saw you, it would be literally to run, like Forrest Gump. And I would just keep running. And I'd be like, you better try to catch me. But you're just, you're the real deal. So, yeah, I wouldn't fight you.
You start sounding like Mike Tyson there for a second. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I could do him, but hey, let me just tell you something there. I got a role for you.
Hey, man. Come on, kid, fuck you up, man.
How you doing, Dolph, right? Obviously done a lot of action films through your career and stuff. Oh, I'm Rob, by the way.
Hey, how are you? Hey.
But I was going to ask, what's the worst injury you've ever suffered during your career?
You mean in movies?
In movies, yeah.
Well, I haven't had too many really bad injuries, fortunately, but I had one, actually. I was in Thailand on this movie called Skin Trade, and I had to do some bike riding. The problem is motorcycles. In movies, they're the worst because you should never wear a helmet, usually, because, you're an action star, you don't have time to put a helmet on, because then they can't see your face. Anyways, you have to, if you're doing any bike riding yourself, you got to do it without a helmet. So they had this double for me, this Thai guy wearing a blonde wig. But the blonde wig it wasn't that expensive, great wig, it was a terrible wig. So you could tell it wasn't me, so I had to do some of the stuff. And I slipped, the bike fell on one of the stunt things, and it kind of got my ankle here a little bit, the left one. So it's still a bit screwed up from that. But otherwise, I've been happy, been pretty lucky.
Yeah, I mean, you get to do a lot of your own stunts because you're probably more physically fit than a lot of the stunt doubles that have probably been in there for you.
Or bigger.
Yeah, bigger. But to get one that's your size and in your shape would be really difficult.
Yeah, I had one guy who was really good, and we were in Prague, but then he started eating the Czech food, and after about 3 weeks, his backside got bigger and bigger, to the point where they couldn't shoot him from behind. And I'm like, hey man, stop eating. It's like, I'm sorry, Dolph, you know, I'm trying to lose some weight. Turned out I had to do all the running myself, even though I had to pull the muscle there. So, yeah.
That is the funniest. I had this similar thing happen to me when I was Tarzan. My stunt doubles would be drinking at night, and I'd be like, we're working out at 3:30 in the morning. Like, no, they never would do it. And I at the time had a 30-inch waist, and they had a 34 and a half and a 33. And the DP would go, do you want them to double for you in this one? And I'd be like, oh, I hate you. I was so sore in that movie. So I know the feeling, because they kept doing that.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get somebody else motivated to do like you, but you seem to do it well. We have this lovely lady here. What's your name?
Becca.
Becca? Dolph, Becca.
Hey, how are you?
Hiya, good, thanks, you?
Yeah, I'm good. I remember you. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I read somewhere that you admired Harrison Ford and Mel Gibson's acting. What was it like to work with them in The Expendables?
I admire them? Yeah, well, I think Mel Gibson especially is obviously a great director. I think he's a tremendous director and an actor. You know, I didn't have a scene with him. He's a funny guy. I think he did a good job in The Expendables, and he's a funny guy. You know, we had a press conference in L.A. and when the movie came out, and somebody said, "Mr. Gibson, so you've never played a villain before in a movie. What was it like?" And how do you feel about your character? And he says something like, well, you know, Stanislavski says you should never judge your character. I thought Dolph Lundgren was the bad guy, and I was really surprised. And I saw the movie last night. So anyway, he's a funny guy, but a good actor as well. Yeah.
We have Spider Girl here.
A which? Spanish.
Leo.
Hola. Hola, ¿cómo está?
Was it from being He-Man, and are you going to make a He-Man too?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Leo, good question. Spider.
You know, I wish I can get a raise. No, actually, those guys, I think they're going to do Masters. I think they're going to reboot that franchise, but they're probably going to have a younger man play He-Man, and I'll be like the King or somebody. Or the problem is now when James Wan, who did Aquaman, was a huge Masters fan, and the reason he wanted me to play that King that playing an Aquaman, he told me he wrote the part for me because he's a huge He-Man fan, and he always thought, you know, that Dolph would be a great King. You know, it took 30 years, but anyway, finally I got to play King, and maybe for a Masters 2, I'll play, I don't know, somebody like an extra or something, I don't know.
Skeletor.
Yeah, Skeletor, yeah. Skeletor.
All right, what's your name?
Dolph, I'd like to know what happens if he dies.
If who dies? Oh, him. If he dies, he dies. Oh, yeah, you know. Thank you. You know, I felt really bad about that experience in Rocky IV because I was a kind of a huge Rocky fan and Apollo Creed fan. And, you know, when I read the script, it was like, oh, boy, I got to kill this guy now? And then Sly is like, go ahead, hit him, Dolph, you know. Like, you know, so then, you know, apparently, I think Carl wasn't too happy about it, but I couldn't do anything. I was just kind of like Ivan Drago. I felt a little bad about it, you know, because in the movie it was kind of the Soviet system that decided to kill him, not so much Ivan Drago. So I try to play that I didn't feel good about it when I deliver some of those lines. You can feel some kind of pain behind it, but you know, yeah, it was a bit tough to have to kill that guy. Sorry.
Next question.
Hi, Dolph. My name's John. Every now and then in films you get bloopers and funny things that happen. What's the funniest thing that's happened to you during the filming?
Oh, boy. Well, if I remove all the X-rated stuff, let me think. Okay, the funniest thing well, look, there's a lot of funny things that have happened. I don't know. It's hard to single out one thing, I mean, I mean, I guess I could. I guess. Let me think. On the Expendables, I'm trying to think there if there was something. Well, Arnold's always good. You know, he's smoking his cigar and insulting people. You know, right and left. You know, so like, don't let Harrison fly the chopper. He's high as a kite. You know, he'll kill us all. The director's like, Arnold, keep it down. Yes, don't let him fly it. He smokes that shit. You know, it's just bad for you. Anyway, yeah, that was funny. Not for Harrison, but anyway. But it was just his double there that day, so he wasn't there to hear it. What else?
So we got 5 minutes left, so I'm going to get 2 more questions. This better be a good question. What's your name?
My name's Ian. Just wondered, Dolph, did you enjoy filming Arrow?
Excuse me?
Did you enjoy filming Arrow?
Did you enjoy filming
Arrow? Yeah. Where are you? I can't. Over there. Oh, hey. Yeah. Yes, I did. You know, it was fun. It was a chance to do kind of a big TV series I haven't done before. So the schedule is different. You know, there's more dialogue. You have to memorize stuff quicker. They don't take as long, many takes of everything, so it kind of moves faster. And I like that character. You know, I sort of try to figure out what to do, you know, for a Russian bad guy, and then I kind of came up with this Russian Marlon Brando, like, he's a Russian kind of Marlon Brando guy, you know. He's like a bad guy, but he's like a Brando. So I kind of did it a bit like that, and it was kind of fun, you know. I had a lot of fun doing that character and being really bad, but having fun doing it. So I really enjoyed that.
And it's actually, it's fun to see that you can do all these impressions. That's another thing I didn't know about you that I'm glad I know now.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Hold on a second. We have another question.
Hi, my name's Neil.
Hey, man.
Is there any actor that you would refuse to work with?
Oh,
Can you do an impression of Van Damme?
Oh, you mean apart from Jean-Claude? Okay, let me think. No, Van Damme, yeah, I did already. Yeah. Okay, I kick over here. I kick over there. It's dangerous. Watch out. Anyway, no, no, I don't think so. I think all actors I work with are good. You know, Arnold's a great guy, and Stallone is he's a tough director. I'm really hard on my actors. You know, I don't get to take shit from them. Anyway, so I don't never take shit from my actors. No, and he's a good guy, and no, there's nobody I would refuse to work with. No, for sure. I've been lucky working with a lot of good actors. On the last picture, William Dafoe and Patrick Wilson, Momoa, and Nicole Kidman, and Amber Heard also. So you know, it's good. Okay, next.
Yep, last question's over here. I have 2 over here.
Hi, Dolph. My name's Colin from Scotland. I just want to ask you, there's yourself, Stallone, and Van Damme in a room. Who's the last one that's going to leave the room?
Let me see. Let me figure that out. Who's the last one to leave the room? The last one. Why, the first one to leave, I don't know. But Stallone already killed him once. I'm gonna cut his fucking head off. Yeah, that movie. So they already killed him once. So I think I'd be the first one to leave, and they'll leave him in there to duke it out, you know. So yeah, I think so.
All right, good. And here's the last question. All right, this better be good. You have a lot of pressure here. This whole audience is looking at you. What's your name?
My name's Jordan, and my question is, obviously you prepare very well physically for all of your roles, but what has been the most testing mentally for your role that you've played? Has there been something that has required you go to some sort of inner place that's really brought it out of you?
Sharknado 5, I thought it was. Yeah, that was tough, man. I didn't want to take all that medication, but I had to. Somebody came up and said that we were in the same picture together. We were in the same film together. I'm like, really? Yeah, we were also in Sharknado 5. I was like, oh, great, congratulations. Anyway, no, I think that's it. Apart from maybe Aquaman was a bit of a challenge because the level of acting, and my character doesn't really have much action. There's a little bit. It's mostly dialogue and drama, and that was fun. That was different for me.
Well, thank you very much, Dolph. Thank you very much for being here. This has been an honor for me. Just totally respect you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Dolph Lundgren, let's go see him. He's going to be signing. Please make his cue. It's huge. You got to get there, sign him.
Thank you.